And we're live.
Welcome back, everyone. Episode 61 of Kids Deserve It. We hope you've been enjoying our weekly chats with game changers and educators from around the country. Also, don't forget, you can check out our podcast on iTunes.
And we want to remind you that you can pick up a copy of Kids Deserve It on Amazon. And if you already got your own copy, it's perfect time to pick up one for a friend.
Also, don't forget to join our Kids Deserve It chat on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and check out Todd's Periscope right before the chats at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Real quick, a lot of people have been asking, what are we going to do when all the chats are done? We've gone through every chapter. We are going to continue our Kids Deserve It chat. I think we have 2 more chapters, Todd.
Yep.
Maybe? So we are going to continue our chat every week. Todd has said before, we're going to have some guest moderators from time to time. So the chat will go on. This week, we have another great guest, but first we want to introduce ourselves. I am Adam Welcome, Director of Innovation and Technology in the Bay Area of California.
I'm Todd Nesloni, Elementary School Principal in Navasota, Texas. And our special guest this week is Travis Crowder. Travis, thanks for being with us this week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, we wanted to remind our viewers to participate in social media using the hashtag #KidsDeserveIt. We always like seeing the things that stick out to you, even if you listen or watch this after the live show.
Well, we have a few questions for Travis. So for those who don't know about you, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am currently a 7th grade English and social studies teacher at East Alexander Middle School in a small community called Hidnite, and it's in North Carolina. I have a bachelor's degree in English, but I also have a master's in instructional technology. My background was supposed to be in high school, but I got offered a job as an 8th grade teacher about 9 years ago. I took it and I fell in love with middle school. So that's where I've been ever since.
Nice.
Awesome. So I know that from what you share online and your blogs and things, that you are a big lover of reading and writing, and that clearly translates to the work that you're doing with kids. Have you always been a reader and writer at heart? And kind of how do you take that and instill that love in others?
I have always been a reader and I've always been a writer. Whenever I was young, I used to write stories all the time. And my mother was always the recipient of these stories. I would take them to her and ask her to read them and tell me what she thought. She was probably a little nicer and she should have been, but she seemed to enjoy them. Some of them were ridiculous. Some of them actually became poems and stories that I wrote later once I got older. One thing that I know as a reader and as a writer, we gravitate to things that we really enjoy. And if I want my students to fall in love with reading, and if I want them to fall in love with writing, I have to get them to do things, to go for things that they enjoy. So if I can pick up on an interest that they like, that helps me really get them into a book. And if I can tap into the things that matter most to them as students and as people, then I can really pull out the writer in them.
So do you find that difficult with the age that you work with, or is it pretty easy once you connect with them?
7th graders always have something to say. Every day they have something to say. So if I can get them talking about a topic, they love talking about big ideas, but they also love talking about themselves. So if I can get them to think in terms of, something that is of great importance to them, they'll talk about it. Now, getting them to start writing is sometimes a bit of a challenge because they want to continue talking. But once the dust settles, once they get started, I often have things that are very awesome come from them.
Nice. So we're more than halfway through this school year, and what's something that you've accomplished that you're really proud of? You want to share?
Well, one thing that I did this year that I have never done is actually have a full reading and writing workshop in my classes. That actually began at the beginning of this year. I'd done a reading workshop a little bit here and there, but this was the first year that I really gave it my all, and I really did reserving time every day to read, reserving every time to write, reserving time every day to share. This is the first time, and it's been very successful. Every student in my classroom is reading right now. Every student in my classroom is writing right now. So it's a wonderful thing, and it's just it's a huge blessing.
Do you have a certain program that you follow or curriculum?
No, not really. It's kind of I guess you could call it a hybrid program if you wanted to call it that. I've taken ideas from so many different professionals and thinkers and writers in my field. And class starts every day with 20 minutes of independent reading. And then from there, I usually have a question to guide the thinking that we do for part of class. And then we'll do some writing and we'll share it. I try to do some skills-based stuff. You know, language arts and social studies are both skills-based, but they're also conceptually based. So I try to make sure that I give them time to think, time to write, time to talk, and time to share the things that they create in class.
Awesome.
So what would you say is probably one of the hardest parts about being in education?
That's a really one of the hardest things in education. I'd have to say that so many people buy into the cult of assessment that we have in education. So many people, it's like it's throughout the year. Sometimes it feels like the elephant in the room or the elephant in the school. Nobody wants to talk about it until it comes time for testing, but it's always there. And I find that if we can focus on the good stuff, like, you know, getting kids reading, getting kids writing, getting kids talking, that's where the power is. And I think the testing part will take care of itself. And I know it's important, but it's, in some ways it does have importance, but I think that's the biggest problem. People who just seem to focus on that instead of trying to get the kids invested in curriculum.
So what was school like growing up for you, Travis?
Honestly, it was boring a lot of the time.
Except when you were reading your mom's stories, right? That was probably the best part.
Right, yeah. I was the kid who got in trouble for having a book under the desk. I was also the kid who would read things so quickly. And while teachers were wanting to discuss them, or while you know, they were wanting you to read a chapter at a time, I was always reading ahead. Or I, you know, realized I could get by with a certain grade and I just wouldn't try. It was often lacked innovation. It also lacked excitement a lot of the time.
Right. So all of us as educators have some of those days where it's just really hard to get out of bed, where we're just not feeling it. When you're having some of those rough, tough to get out of bed days, what do you kind of do to kick your butt into gear?
Well, I do several things, but I'll try to mention just one of them. I love to write, and there's a line that I follow, and I think it was either Donald Murray or it was Donald Graves who said it. And I'm wanting to say it was, you know what, I'm not going to put myself to committing to either of those. It was one of the Dons, I know that, but it was the line that one of them used often was never a day without a line. And so I really try to make sure I write every day, and that kind of helps give me a focus. And that also helps me get an idea of this is what I want us to do in class today. Or I'll have, like, you know, an epiphany where I'll say, ooh, that would be a great thing to use with students today, or this is a good thought. I also am an avid fan of music. So I often have to get myself started early in the morning with music. And sometimes I'll even take that into class and say, let's listen to this song as a group, and then you tell me what you think. You know, what's running through your mind as you're listening to this. That's
so
awesome.
Writing's a big theme tonight, you know, and I know you do that a lot at your school. Can you talk more about the writing group that you do with colleagues on your campus?
Yeah. So Todd, you'll appreciate this. I was listening to a podcast that was being hosted by Penny Kittle, and she is an influential person. She has been such an influential person in my career. And she talked about how there was a teacher at her school where they just started a writing group. You know, I think she had said something like, anyone who wants to write can, you know, I'm going to be writing at a certain time. Well, I thought, well, why not with, you know, my school? I know there are a lot of teachers who have, they've been quite vocal about having an interest in writing. And so I just put out an email to staff and said, I'm going to be writing in my room this afternoon. If you'd like to come join me, please come on. And it actually turned into such a neat community of people. It's a great time for us to think about what we're teaching. It becomes a great time for us to think about, you know, things that are on our hearts, things that we can take from the group back into our classroom. And it's turned into such a neat place for teachers to come and for us to think and just, you know, like, I'll just say what I said earlier. It's just a neat community of writers.
So how long have you been doing that?
It started back before Christmas. I think around November was the first time that we did that. And so
Have
we've
you
been holding
seen
strong
any-
since November.
Okay. Have you seen any like conversations or anything come outside of that group because of me?
Could you qualify that a bit? Like whenever you say conversations,
Well, like, I
Like-
mean, has you meeting with other teachers to talk about writing as adults and sharing that love there, has that conversation also happened outside of that group time when y'all meet?
yeah, it has. It has. I've had teachers go beyond our writing group, and they'll even have mentioned to me things about that are things that they've done with their kids because of the things that we have in writing group. Teachers are also, they'll talk about what a good time that they had in it. And the like one teacher is wanting to write a short story, a story for children. So she has even talked to other coworkers about that with them.
Right.
So it spiraled from just our small group to going on in the school.
Awesome. So who is somebody that inspires you or challenges you to be better?
My best friend, Christy Julesrud, we've worked together for years, and she is just she's a great teacher, but she constantly challenges me. I'll bring it out of the professional writing realm for a moment. Whenever we first started working together, we gravitated to one another because we were so similar. Our teaching styles are similar, the things that we like are similar, but she pushes me every day to be a better teacher, a better thinker, and she gives me so many wonderful things to bring before my kids, and I'm really thankful for her.
Nice.
Love that.
All right, Travis. Every week we like our guest to leave a challenge for our viewers. What is your challenge for the week?
Reading is a very important thing to me, and I guess what I would just to say to read more. I think that would leave a lot hanging open there, but I will say I think it would be important for listeners, for viewers, if you would pick up a book by a professional writer in your area, whether it be elementary education, English, science, whatever that may be, so to help you strengthen and hone your craft as a teacher, to help you with your thinking, but also to read something by a novel or a book, whether it's a book for children, a book for young adults, to share with young people. And I think the professional stuff helps us so much as we work with our kids, but we want to have things consistently to introduce to them, to share with them, to get them reading, to get them thinking. And if we're readers, we'll push that on to our students, because the book love that we have, we want our students to have that as well.
Awesome. Well, Travis, thank you so much for being our guest this week on the show. We really appreciate getting to know you and kind of share a little bit of your story with some of our viewers.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for asking me.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah, no problem. And remember that you can tweet us using the hashtag #KidsDeserveIt. We also want to encourage you to go onto iTunes and leave a rating and a review about this episode, because we are going to be selecting a winner on Friday to receive an autographed book set, and we will announce who that winner is on next week's show. Make sure you include your Twitter handle so that we can contact you about your prize. And don't forget to join our Twitter chats on Wednesday and our guest next week, who is Texas Principal Dana Boyd. Thanks so much, everybody, and we hope you have a great week.